What's up to Lion Talk Live? So we love you too, buddy.
What's going on, guys? It is Aiden Hutchinson.
What's up, everybody? It's Calvin Johnson Jr. here, a.k.a. Megatron, a.k.a. First Ballot.
What's up, man? It's your boy Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Greetings and salutations to everyone out there in YouTube land. This is Dan Skipper, offensive weapon for the Detroit Lions. Make sure you all help support Lions Talk Live, Coach Dan, by clicking on that like and subscribe button. Everybody, woo!
I love nothing more than watching Lions Talk Live every morning. Woo!
Woo!
Well, greetings and salutations to everybody out there in YouTube land. I am your host once again, Dan Thornton. Want to thank you all for joining us here today, Sunday morning, Lions Talk Live. You know what? If you stayed up and watched the Chicago Bears versus Green Bay Packers last night, you got to be kicking yourself if you're a Green Bay Packers fan. I think probably most people would have anticipated by halftime this game was about donezo. But you know what? It's an old coaching adage. You don't ever stop playing until you hear the final horn go off. My personal opinion, Matt LaFleur and the Green Bay Packers stopped playing, stopped coaching, thinking the game was over. Ben Johnson couldn't get out of his own way, tried to pull the best MCDC. If you don't like MCDC going for it on fourth down, you probably look at Ben Johnson and go, man, that guy's trying to one-up him. We're not going to worry about that, though, but we are going to use that in part of today's show to break down why the Detroit Lions next year. My opinion, I think the evidence is clear. Lions are probably going to end up being one of the top 3 to 4 totality rosters in the NFL. We're going to break it down. We're not going to do the show like normal. We're not really going to worry about 5 headlines now. Today's show is all just proving why the Detroit Lions do have a compelling argument to feel going into next season. They're one of the top teams at multiple different positions. Real quick before we get into that, though, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please consider doing so. 33 subs away from hitting 16,100. Also, if you're hitting that, hit the thumbs up button, the like button, hit all the buttons. We try to get every episode of the show between 200, 300, 400 or more thumbs up or likes. Last, never least, if you didn't know by now, I'm a realtor, have been for over 30 years. If you're looking for somebody to represent you, make sure you don't get overcharged, overworked, paid too much, or sell your property for too little. Go ahead and give me a call or shoot me a text, 269-998-2384. All that done, said, out of the way, I'm going to present the evidence to you guys. You guys need to be the jury. Come with your own opinions. Nobody's going to agree with everything I put up here, but I think the evidence is clear. I'm going to break it down. We're going to start with perhaps the most important position on any NFL team, and that is your quarterback position. So you're going to see a number of different slides I've prepared for you. Why I think when you look at the Lions offense, the defense, the special teams, the coaching, the whole totality, as it sits right here, right now, I think the Lions, when healthy, are a top 5 team. I also think Brad Holmes and the Detroit Lions are going to open up a lot of money in free agency and make some adjustments, really kind of pushing this team into the top 5, top 3 firmly when fully healthy. The other part of this that won't be considered on this particular episode of Lions Talk Live is it's going to point out just how strong the NFC North really is, even though yesterday maybe you could argue the Green Bay Packers didn't look that great. All right, starting, and I'm going to try to be as fair and as analytical, not put in personal bias. That's something you see, I think, often when you watch ESPN or whatever. People inflect their personal bias into players, especially if they used to play for a particular team. My personal opinion, when analyzing just the raw data, not anything you visually see out there, but just the data out there, I think it's clear. When it comes to the quarterback position, Jared Goff, somewhere between top 8, top 10 in the NFL. There, you can make an argument to be slightly higher, slightly lower, but what you can ascertain with that being said, he's got elite accuracy, processing, and command of Ben Johnson's offense. I still term it Ben Johnson's offense because while it is a culmination of MCDC and Ben Johnson, you know what? Let's just face it. You look at the Chicago Bears, you see a lot of similarities. Whoever you want to give credit to, I just termed it as that. Thrives from behind a clean pocket, which he did have for the most part throughout his career in Detroit last year or this past season that just ending now, you obviously get it. The offensive line had some flux, proving it could still win playoff games and command elite efficiency. So in a nutshell, as I summarize here, why it works, the Lions don't need a superhero quarterback. They really don't need a top 1, 2, or 3. You see throughout the playoffs this year, last year, past 20-some years, and I think going forward, it helps to have one of the top 3 quarterbacks. But one could argue some of the top 3 quarterbacks aren't even in the playoffs this year. So with that being said, they don't need a disruptor who can doesn't lose games. Goff is one of the league's best when protected. And I think we would all agree with that. Going on from that, what are your thoughts on Goff? I know some of you absolutely hate the guy. Some of you think he's the prodigal son, gonna part the Red Seas. Again, just looking at the data in today's show, I think Goff, there's a strong, consistent argument to be made that he's somewhere around the top 10. Whether you want to say he's 12, I've got him between 8 and 10. You guys can obviously have him at 5, 6, 7, or whatever, or maybe you have him as simply the best quarterback in the NFL. I don't have him quite there, but I think you guys get it. He's somewhere in the upper echelon. All right, let's move on from quarterback to running back. Running backs, when you look at Gibbs and Montgomery, I do think they're a top 3 duo in the NFL. So right here, starting off, you see some consistency between the quarterback position and the running back position. Gibbs, I laid it all out here for you guys. Mismatch everywhere on the field. He's a mismatch as a wide receiver. He's a mismatch as a running back. If you wanted to put him at, a flanker back or something like that, wherever you put him, he's going to cause problems just because there's physically on planet Earth, when I go out scouting for players for professional basketball, one of the first things you go looking for is where is this person from a genetic component? And with all these rankings, I do use a lot of my scouting techniques or whatever that I would employ when trying to give people contracts. There's less than 0.5% of human beings walking and breathing that could even say they're anywhere near his kind of God-given athleticism. So from that set alone, he's just rare. Now you add in his explosiveness. He's elite pass catching as at least a running back. I'm not going to call him elite as a wide receiver. Montgomery, physical tone setter, great in short yardage, runs. I know Broski Bear would say with a piano on his back. I've come to use that term with him, but it's hard to tackle a piano. Let me put it that way. You can power through things. Why it works, they both bring vastly different skill sets and they complement each other very well. This is why I know many of us don't want to see David Montgomery leave. I'm hoping he'll return next year, but obviously don't know that, and that would change this dynamic a little bit, at least if we go forward and he's not back. But you see some consistency. Now let's move on to the tight end spot. And again, trying to be as analytical as I can be with this particular show, not trying to show any bias just because they're Detroit Lions. Although I know there's going to be some knuckleheads in the comment section that say, hey, you only think that because you make Lions content. Well, if that's your opinion, I'm probably not changing it. Sam Laporta, in my view, is a top 3 tight end. Doesn't mean he's top 3 at everything, but as a totality, immediate start, mismatch nightmares I put up there. There's just simply very few linebackers, if you go man-to-man, that are going to have any kind of chance of stopping him. Same with Gibbs, and I detailed that with Gibbs out there when he goes out to the wide receiver spot. How many safeties can effectively stop Sam I.M.? Not that many. Dominant red zone, dominant third downs, seams routes. It took when he went out, go back and replay this past season that just closed for the Detroit Lions. How long did it take for the Lions to adjust to him not being there? I think a few weeks. When we went on that losing streak before closing out against Chicago, I do think the run game was vastly impacted by, and to be fair, not just the loss of Laporta, but also Brock Wright, because how the Lions scheme the running game with tight ends. And you can say what you want about Isaac Tesla or some of the other guys, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jameson Williams, that block well the wide receiver room. They're just not the same physically as some of the tight ends. And that's why they were at wide receivers and not tight ends and vice versa. Laporta, it sounds like he's going to be back A-okay 100% by training camp. But going forward, I do think the Lions are going to probably address in the draft to a lower round extent, adding another tight end to this position. You can see where a lot of the NFC North went with multiple tight ends, 12, 13 personnel, just to try to help with pass protection and run blocking. Lions, I think, aren't going to be any different with it. I do think come this time next year, you're going to see the Lions return to being a top 3 tight end group. So right off the bat, you got a top 10 quarterback, at least in my opinion, top 3 tandem at running back for the Detroit Lions, and then yes, top 3 at the tight end position. Now, moving on from that, let's be fair. Let's look at the wide receiver group. I've got us as a totality top 8, and there was definitely, when working on this, trying to split things down, I just came up with this. I mean, I'm trying to not be biased towards the Detroit Lions because I do make Lions content. So maybe somebody else could have us as the top 3 wide receivers, as a totality, maybe in the top 5 in the NFL, maybe top 4. I dropped us to 8, probably throwing a little shade our way just because I do make Lions content. Either way, though, when you look at the group, I just think it's vastly hard to try to find groups that are completely better than ours. When just looking at the top 3 for this team, and I am going to put Tesla in the top 3 at this point in his evolution from rookie to now a second-year player. Amon-Ra St. Brown, as I got listed here, he's a top 5 wide receiver. His ability to run routes, his toughness, his run blocking, clutch catches. He did have some drops this year. I think that's mostly due to some injuries he played through. Jameson Williams, and again, trying to be as fair as I can be, I don't want to put him in top 10 in the NFL. I think he's in the next 5. I think he evolved into being a top 15 NFL wide receiver. Somebody who's more neutral in nature and not a Lions content creator might be able to make the argument that Jameson Williams by the end of the season was a top 11, top 10. I'm going to leave that to somebody else. But as a totality, when just looking at the top 3 receivers for Detroit, I've got him in the top 8 for us as a whole. Offensive line, I didn't do a graphic for. I ran out of time getting ready for the show. We'll talk about that just real quick. I think with what I'm anticipating the Lions are going to do this offseason, Lions are going to return to a top 10 offensive line. As they sit right now, with Decker still here, Glasgow here, what you saw to Christian Mahogany and Tate Ratledge down the stretch, Penei Sewell, you already know he's been deemed the protector of the year, whatever the award is. He's the greatest offensive lineman in the NFL this year, and I don't disagree with that. So, yes, he played through injuries. I think as it sits right now, I'd put the Lions around the 18th offensive line, although I think everybody watching the shows agrees 1 or 2 key pieces added via free agency or the draft probably pushes them back up into around the top 10. Maybe if they really hit with Linderbaum or something like that, maybe they can go up to 8 or 5, but the 1 or 2 pieces would jump that group exponentially. I'm talking about the offensive line here. All right, let's go over to the defensive side of the ball. And for those just joining today's show, there is no 5 headlines now, no special guests. We're just talking about where the Lions sit right now and how quickly I really think they will be one of the most dangerous, maybe a top 3 roster next year. Defensive line, let me take a deep breath with this. Defensive line, I guess, is a top 5 unit. And sort of like the offensive line, I think it's where the Lions are going to target the most in the offseason. As it sits right now, I do not have us as top 5. This is a bit of a projection here. I think with Aleem McNeil coming back this year, we'd all agree. He looked great out of the gates the first 2-3 games. After that, you can see where the fatigue set in. He didn't have full strength in that knee. And from there, it just kind of went downhill. He wasn't terrible by any stretch. He just wasn't Aleem McNeil. I do think next year he's going to return to being more, quote, end quote, Aleem McNeil. I also think when trying to be as fair as possible, you look at the last 3 games for Tyleek the Freak Williams, definitely the Chicago Bears game. If that becomes his norm and Aleem McNeil does get his full strength back in his knee, along with what you saw to Aiden Hutchinson, I think the Lions, if they do add 1-2 pieces to this defense line, they will be top 5 this year. Next year, I should say, next season, 2026. I think they get a lot out of their personnel that they do have. I also think, like the offense line, it's going to be a position where they're going to invest heavily this offseason. I think they're aware of it. If they don't, they're going to struggle next year. But if they do that, it's going to transcend to all sorts of different positions. Now, that also being said, let's go to the next group here. Aiden Hutchinson, since I didn't talk about enough, let me go back to this graphic here. Aiden Hutchinson, and again, people are going to have all sorts of different opinions. I don't really care. I can only offer you my opinion. Some of you will love it. Some of you don't love it. Get it. I don't think he's elite as far as I know. I talked about it yesterday. I don't think he's a 10 out of a 10. I think he's an 8.5 out of 10. 8.5 means, in my opinion, you're better than basically 80%, 85% of the league. Because most of the league is going to operate on the defensive line. Most of the players are going to be around a 60 to a 70, 75 overall performance. Aiden Hutchinson is about 10 points over your norm, your average. So he's not, Myles Garrett, who I would say is like a 95 out of 100, but, he's not that far off, in my opinion. I do think he does a few things better than Myles Garrett, but getting to the quarterback is just Myles Garrett's freakishly good. All right, anyways, moving on from that. So now you know what I thought about Aiden Hutchinson. Let's move on to the linebacker. I have us as we are right now, with not any changes, assuming Alex Anzalone returns, maybe you resign Rodrigo, and if maybe you get Cunningham back, you're a top 8 unit. There's some weaknesses in the unit, but it's just hard to really find a group as strong as them. They're athletic, they're disciplined, improving in coverage. The one downside with the coverage that I came up with, I know we talked about it during live casts throughout the season, is Derek Barnes. What do you do with him? He's not great at anything. He's not terrible at anything. We were just talking about Aiden Hutchinson being 10 points over the average. I think Derek Barnes is an average NFL linebacker, and he's the worst out of the group, in my opinion. That's not bad at all. Most teams don't have that. That's why I have us as top 8. There are 7 teams I came up with better grades overall at their linebacker spots. Detroit, number 8. But I will say this. My opinion ain't going to be everybody's opinion. I just think, when we look at our linebacking core, Alex Anzalone, if they can get him to come back, he's not as good as he once was at defending the run. He's not as good as he once was at getting after the pass. I just think he's not far off of being from his top peak. So he's taken a step back. I still think he's got a lot left in the tank. The Lions re-signed him to a year contract or a 2-year contract. I don't think it'd be bad if they got him the right price. Jack Campbell, with that being said, this year, I think he became the NFL's best overall linebacker. And if you don't want to say number 1, he's in the top 3. And I just don't see there's much room for him to go down from there. Derek Barnes already talked about your backups, though, with Cunningham. If you can keep him, Rodrigo, they're as good as anybody in the league when it comes to backups. These guys, those two, could start on a lot of NFL rosters. Have your opinions on it, but that's where I ranked them. All right, let's go to the next group here, and that would be the cornerback room. All right, cornerbacks, and you're going to hate me with this one, but again, try to be as fair as possible. When Terrion Arnold's in there, and you're healthy in this the safety position, because that affects what you can call and the type of coverages you use. I thought the Lions were about a top 10 list. I put them at number 10 out of 10 on that list. Reasons why is their flexibility in run defense. I know we don't always talk about that when grading cornerbacks, but can they just play one side of the ball or both sides of the ball? Lions cornerbacks, we need to be fair when evaluating them, in my opinion. And I put it right here: physicalness and press ability, better depth and confidence than past seasons, holding up in the run long enough in pass coverage for the pass rush to get there. You guys all get it. Some of the pass rush win rates the Lions generate. Sometimes the defensive line has to get there in 5 seconds, 6 seconds, 4 seconds, whatever it is. The Lions secondary has to hold up, and you need to give them credit for that, because somebody isn't getting rid of the ball in the first 3 seconds. They are forcing, or the Lions secondary is forcing somebody to hold on to the ball for 4 to 5, 6 seconds. That means the coverage is there. When you see the run defense, it's there too. I really like Rocky Osing. I like Terrion Arnold. To be honest, I like Amik Robinson, even though he didn't have a great season this year. They all, for the most part, the Lions secondary really showed strong run support. In my opinion, that's often forgot about when evaluating the cornerbacks. And like I said, also trying to be fair with them, if the Lions pass rush gives a quarterback 4 to 6 seconds to get there, and that quarterback isn't getting rid of the ball, you know what? You're doing a whole lot of good things out there in coverage. We're trying to be fair to teams that play as much man-to-man, typically as the Lions, even though down the stretch they played a little bit more zone. I thought the secondary actually did fairly well. And when trying to evaluate for today's show, it was vastly better than I had originally anticipated going in. I would have said the Lions secondary this year, based just on this year, probably would have went in with my initial wrong analysis and said we were probably somewhere in the bottom 10 or so. But looking at it as a totality, it's far better than probably just my initial eye test would have given. All right, let's go to the last group here, at least without the special teams. Safeties, win healthy. And again, that's the big if right now with the Lions safety group. I did drop them. Last year, I had them in top 3. This year, top 5. Kirby Joseph didn't play a whole lot this year. You guys get it. Brian Branch, while he was out there, I don't think he played or had his overall best season. But again, when you remove emotion and go back in hindsight and watch things, you can see where the Lions used him in so many different roles than they had even the prior years. He played far more linebacker or linebacker-ish assignments than he had in the past. And some of that was out of just necessity with the play calls, the situational awareness. Brian Branch is one of the most complete safeties in the NFL. Kirby Joseph, I don't think he's a complete safety, but what he does incredibly well. A lot of stuff in the offseason is going to have to be answered when analyzing all this. But if either one of them or both of them can come back relatively early next season and play, return to form, however you want to term it, then the Lions, I think just about anybody watching the show is going to say the Lions safeties, if they do return to healthy prior forms, then they've got one of the top 5 safety tandems in the NFL. All right, last group here as far as the players, and that's going to be special teams. Let me find that graphic for you real quick. Running out of space for the graphics. I had this as a top 10 group. A reliable kicker, kick from distance. And again, not just basing Bates on field goal percentage, but also kickoff percentage. What do I mean by that? Every NFL team nowadays, when you kick off, they're trying to put it in the landing zone or whatever you want to call it. Jake Bates murdered it this year. He was the best kicker in the NFL in landing kicks in the landing zone. That's by design. And the fact that he was able to consistently thread that needle, he needs to get credit for it. I think we all get with Jack Fox. You know, he is perhaps one of the best punters in the league. You just don't use him a lot until later in the year where we decide to actually punt the ball or kick field goals. But that's what I had for him. Last one here is not a players. It's the coaching. And let me pull it up here. Coaching staff, overall, I gave an elite grade. But some of that, I probably showed some biasness here. I thought Shepard, when trying to sit back and watch what was going on, when healthy, I thought the defense, he did a real good job calling it. Even though, me personally, I would still say if you got the opportunity to hire a really proven elite defense coordinator, would I do it? Absolutely, 100%. Brian Flores hits the market. No disrespect to Kelvin Shepard. If I'm Brad Holmes, Dan Campbell, I got to make the best choice for this team. And Kelvin Shepard, I like what I saw in hindsight. I like what I saw him trying to do, even though sometimes players got caught out of position. Well, you know, the injuries were too much. You know, whatever you want to throw the blame, I would still move on from him for the right defensive coordinator. And again, there's only probably 3 or 4 names out there that I would, you know, move Shep to the curb and sign one of those guys. But again, if you can upgrade something just like anything on the roster, you should try to do it. The offensive coaching staff, John Morton, I'm going to show some love towards him. Why? When you go back and watch his game calls, I do think there's a lot of schematic good stuff. Now, that also being said, I have to throw some blame at him because I thought there was some situational downsides. And I'm going to throw that at Dan Campbell as well. With that being said, do I see where MCDC or the offensive play calling got better down the year, especially when they stopped rolling the dice so much? Pulling a Ben Johnson yesterday in the first half, not the second half as much, then yeah, and trying to pay attention to all the different positional groups, I think there's a whole lot there, but where they did struggle, even though I gave them an elite grade, I thought they struggled trying to figure out how to adjust to the offensive line. The start of the year, I thought they actually did, the first 6 games, a really good job with the offensive line. Then we ran into Minnesota after the bye. Minnesota exposed a hole in the Lions' offensive line, which disrupted the offense, which clearly took a while for the Lions coaching staff to figure out how do we re-game plan, restructure the offense to take care of this weakness. That's where I thought their lack of experience really showed out. So overall, if they learn from that, I think they go back to being elite, although one could argue right now they've got some upward assignments or upward growth they need to go through. All right, I tried to make this show a little bit different for you guys. What are your thoughts on it? Now, all this information that I just gave you, here's what I'd say with it. A lot of it you got to look at, like I talked about when breaking things down. And if I'm Brad Holmes, I'm Dan Campbell, I can't be the village idiot and look at this information and say, yeah, I'm vastly have a different opinion. If the Lions add, in my view, via free agency, 3 to 5 key pieces. It doesn't mean they have to be the best out of the best guys out there. You know, they're all elite. I think if you just add some very, very good, competent players across the board to the offensive line and a couple things on defense, it's hard to find a better roster going forward than the Detroit Lions. The offense is stacked at the most critical positions, the skill positions. Now, you need to complement that by making that offensive line good to where running backs aren't getting hit at the line of scrimmage or behind it. Because how quickly does that change your passing attack? Goff, you guys all get it. He's one of the better play-action quarterbacks out there. Even if you moved off Goff, what quarterback isn't going to be made better because you can run the ball and throw play action in there? You hear every offensive lineman in NFL history say the same thing. It's easier to block forward than it is to backpedal and pass block. So you have a massive schematic advantage if you just simply get the Lions running game back on track to where guys have holes in the middle of the field. From the safety position, the cornerback position, the defensive edge position, the Lions defense can address those three things. I think the linebackers are fine. You don't really need to do a whole lot there. And you look at all the draft capital they have, plus potentially the free agency money. I think the Lions are really set up to shine next year. I presented as much evidence as I could innately for you guys to digest. Let me know your thoughts real quick. When evaluating stuff, I try to use a bunch of different metrics to break down. I try to be, again, look at some nonpartisan, so not any kind of particular sports teams analysis of their own roster. I try to look at different metrics to assess these things. Could somebody have a completely different opinion? Absolutely. Some free agents I want to throw at you guys if you're going to target the same things I suggest. Looking into the upcoming free agency window, I think the Lions need to go all in. If you don't feel Lee McNeil is going to be back to where he was, you need to try to go find a Chris Jones type. Tyreek Williams, I think he's going to be pretty good. I don't think he's that kind of guy. Now, are you going to get Chris Jones? No, but somebody who can provide some internal pass rush like Lee McNeil did before the ACL injury. If you think McNeil's going to be fine, maybe this is less of a concern, especially if you re-sign Lopez, but we'll see. Some other spots, we already talked about the cornerback spot a little bit, but how about this? You need a press corner. How about Jalen Johnson type? How about Ladarius Sneed? I do think he's going to be available, and you could probably get most of his guaranteed contract handled by the current team. Travarius Ward type, just because of his length and discipline, I do think he's going to potentially be an option that might hit the cut wire, the waiver wire, the trade wire. And paying attention to the last 5 years of data, when a cornerback who's got a contract like some of these guys I just mentioned, it's put up for sale by one of the teams, you're looking at a lower level draft pick. A 6th, a 5th round pick is what's been about the average last few years. I also think the Lions need to bulletproof the roster. Biggest thing, and I know we've been talking about this last 3 seasons, an edge opposite Aiden Hutchinson. Everybody and their mother knows it. I think you guys know it. Most content creators, whether you're a Lions fan or just an NFL fan, would also agree Aiden Hutchinson would be even better if he got blocked less. So the one thing I will say is I do think while you can make a free agency acquisition to achieve this, if you're going to go after this in the draft, you do see historically sound defensive edges seem to mature faster in the NFL than offensive linemen. That's my opinion based on the data. So if you address the offensive line in free agency and invested in the defense line in the draft, you probably get quicker results. I guess that's probably the best way to word it. I already talked about interior offensive line to protect Goff, open up the running game, and how I'd spend free agency money on that. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else I haven't really thrown at you guys. All right, I think that's about it. I don't think there's anything I've missed, but let's get over to the comment section and see what you guys have to say. Again, trying to do something a little different in the show today. All right, let me scroll to the top of the screen. Give me a second. Ooh, there's a few comments here. Still scrolling. All right, Michael, greetings, salutations, Coach Dan, the Duke crew, exclamation point, one pride. Woo! Back at you, Johnny. Good morning, folks. Good morning, Johnny. What do we have today? Now you know, no one's had the battle. Conan, Green Bay needs to fire everybody after that last night. Hey, that's part of coaching. It's part of playing. You're hired to be fired. I know I use that mantra always on the show. It's something I learned early in my coaching career. Yeah, Matt LaFleur and the Green Bay Packers. 2 straight games they had the Chicago Bears beat until they didn't. Going in second time, yeah, they had a sizable lead in the fourth quarter. They did and didn't finish the game. Bo, good morning, Duke crew. Cowboy B Bop with Green Bay draft. Woo! Cowboys are probably pretty happy they pulled off that trade. I do think the Cowboys are going to be the beneficiaries of it. Micah Parsons, hey, I don't wish an injury on any player, but you roll the dice on him. You signed him to a big contract, knew he had some back issues. Now he's got a knee issue. We're already talking about it with Lee McNeil. He'll be back next year. Will he be Micah Parsons fully next year? Evidence is probably there that he'll be about 80 to 90% of himself, which means you got to go to the second year to get him back to probably 100%. Although I'm wishing him well. I hope he's back 100% next year. Johnny L, Chicago is not going to get fired in the playoffs. All right. Not yet, at least. Chicago's not going to get far in the playoffs. All right. Good morning, says Johnny. Bo and Conan and Michael. What's the good word for today? Now you know. Michael, morning, Johnny. Big Eddie. I watched those games yesterday, and in your opinion, we can't very different than the Rams. We aren't maybe very different than the Rams and Bears. Without question, we can beat either of those teams. Rams got that high draft pick, though. They do. Yeah, from the trade, was it like number 23 pick or something like that last year with the Falcons. Johnny L, hey, Big Eddie, where did they get that draft pick from? Now you know. Good morning, Coach in all lines faithful. And back at you, Silver. Big Eddie, last year in the draft when they traded with Atlanta. Correct with that. Trey, what's good, everybody? Question mark. I can't believe how often I get up early nowadays, in part just to watch the show with y'all. Green Bay going to fire their coach. I know that it was asked of Jordan Love after the game. Jordan Love said, I like Matt LaFleur, et cetera. But that's really what you would expect. No player is going to go out there, I would think, and talk ill of the coach until they're out of there. Why? If you don't fire him, I got to be coached by that person next year. Let's see. Just greetings, salutations, Duke Crew. Ain't no one else going to say it? Question mark. Ben Johnson was calling that game as if he was MCDC. Laughing out loud. 4th and 4 on side of the 50. You win. That's all anyone's going to talk about. Yes, I would agree with that. If they would have lost that game, Ben Johnson would have been thrown to the wolves. I mean, he would have been under so much scrutiny. But you won, so you know what? I've said this a long time. People can hate my play calling how you want. Scoreboard. All right, there you go. Silver. I wonder what the coach is going to tell us today. Now you know. Johnny, good morning, Silver, and good morning, Jess. Johnny L, hope whatever he tells us today, Silver, it's going to be good. I think overall it is very good. Troy Mac, good morning, Duke Crew. Got to give the Bears credit. They kept pulling out those wins out of there, but next week their Cinderella story ends. I got the Bill Eagles, Pats all taking the dubs today. Okay, and to your point, I think it helps add another layer to what the Lions are able to do. Go into Soldier Field, get a lead, maintain the lead. Yes, the fourth quarter, the Bears try to do what the Bears do. Fourth quarter rallies. The only thing is different with Detroit and everybody else. Detroit held on and won. So that's where I think it adds another layer to the Lions season. And, hey, good for us. All right, Michigan Sports Auto. Good morning, Coach Dan, the world famous Duke Crew. And back at you with an exclamation point. Drake, what's up, Duke Crew? How are we one of the league's most dangerous teams? Coach Dan, you got some explaining to do. And, well, hopefully you got the explaining. Dennis Green salutations all. Exclamation point. Bent Johnson pulled one off last night. He didn't look that good. Packers just looked worse. Packers, this isn't a Packers channel. The only thing I'm going to say is they did a whole lot of stuff to assist the Bears. I think they looked overconfident. They didn't make any adjustments at halftime. They came in and said, hey, we're just going to keep doing what we're going to do. And the Bears made some adjustments. Some people, as you can see watching games, some make in-game adjustments pretty quick. Some do not. And I think that's where Matt LaFleur, he's going to have a long off season if he remains the Green Bay Packers coach, because you could tell by halfway through that third quarter, Bears had figured some stuff out how to slow down that Packers offense. Packers didn't have a counterpunch to it. Man, I can't believe the Bears came back. How about that? Server, Justin, I was thinking the same thing. Campbell's Lions are setting patterns going on fourth down and the rebirth of the running game for so many teams. Yes, I agree. 100%. The return of the running back to the NFL. Johnson kept rolling them dice until he got sevens. I guess I don't know gambling well enough. I blame the Packers more than I praise the Bears. Okay, I can see that. Blow a 24-3 lead sounds familiar. Lions Talk Live fan will note, Johnny, I believe that I missed both the games. I went to bed kind of early. Ha, ha, ha. Nothing wrong with that. Dennis, I agree. Just Xavier, greetings, salutations, Coach Daniel Duke Crew. Hope your day is blessed. Exclamation point. Hope the Lions get some good players from the agency and draft picks. I think we're going to. So as long as we identify the right free agents and draft picks, man, I think this roster could just be stacked next year. Johnny, what was the final on that game? Now you know. I think they won by 4 points, I think is what it was. Johnny, good morning. Xavier. Trim Raver, good morning. Dan, the world renowned Duke crew. Exclamation point. Let's go Lions. Woo! Back at you. Server. Johnny, good morning. Johnny. France, people were saying us beating the Bears means nothing. Watching yesterday's game, I changed my tune. Right now, I think they needed that win for self-belief, and the Packers have mental issues going into. And if you're the Packers, you probably do have to be questioning a lot of things. I mean, whatever it was, you lost, how many games in a row to end the year? And the vast majority of the last month and a half. Yeah, not a good way to end your year. Next season. Yeah, I'm with you there. Xavier, thank you, Duke crew, for being great crew. Exclamation point. And back at you. Thanks for being a part of that great crew. Trim Reaver, Pistons, Red Wings in first place in the respective divisions. Oh, yeah. Yeah, they're having a renaissance in Detroit. MCDC needs to make McDaniels an offer he can't refuse. I really think the only thing stopping McDaniels coming here is just the opportunity to be a head coach again. If he isn't a head coach, I think he has a high probability of being our OC. Dean, what do you got? People are going to call me crazy, but I think improving the secondary is job number one this spring. I don't disagree with that. Now, if you want to include the safety position with that, if maybe the Lions have more inside or sensitive information about the safety room, and maybe it's less of a priority, but I think if you include all that, you improve that, prove the pass rush on the defensive line, man, I think that Lions defense could be something. Queen Mary, good morning, Duke crew, and happy blessed Sunday. Back at you. Server. Dan Campbell always says everything in his pressers, perhaps not straight in your face, but tells you things. Coach, I got a funny feeling Campbell wants to call plays. I think he enjoys it. Maybe he does. I just don't know enough about it. Dennis, I think it is imperative that we fill a few holes on a roster. If we get that done and get a good OC, we can be unstoppable. I like where you're thinking, and I think I see what you're seeing. Susan, I hope MCDC doesn't remain the OC. There will be some that say that for sure. Dennis, MCDC had enough on his plate without calling plays. Some coaches do it well, streamingly well. Other people, not as much. Five Various ready. Morning all. Same to you. Server. Good morning, Queen Mary. Johnny, agreed. Susan. Henry Moore, good morning, Coach Dan and the Duke crew. What a team. What a podcast. Exclamation point. What a time to be a Lions fan. Woo! Always a pleasure to have you, Henry Moore, Senior. Johnny L., good morning to the beautiful Queen Mary and all the other beautiful ladies on Lions Talk Live show. Back at you. Remember, I'm thinking calling plays as OC MCDC doesn't have the same time to rally the troops and get them fired up, in your opinion. No, anytime you add more to your plate, just like anything else in life, you have less to invest here, there, or wherever. So I think you're right. David, Packers gave up their future to be one and done. There's going to be a whole lot of Packer faithful having to face that this year. I mean, you gave up this year's first-round pick and next year's first-round pick. You've kind of straddled your salary cap to a certain degree. You went all in to win it this year, and you crawled into the playoffs, and then you blew it in the playoffs. Hookadoo, top of the morning, Duke Crew, one prime. I'm in listening mode today. I broke my glasses yesterday, and it's a challenge to see. Hey, hopefully you get those things fixed, my friend. I know it's no fun at all to not have them. So, sir, Scott, Susan Scott's, copy your hopes about MCDC. Give it to McDaniels, and a good morning to you. Johnny L., I believe the Packers are doomed. Maybe. Stephanie Waller, good morning, boys. Exclamation point. Getting into the gym, 2 weeks to go into the next fight. We'll listen in as best I can. Go Duke crew. Exclamation point. Hey, good luck to you in that fight, by the way. I know I'll be cheering for you. Maybe one of your biggest challenges. Lauren, will Amik be here next year? I know he's come out on record and said he loves it here, wants to be back. Now will they sign him back? Inquiring minds want to know. Johnny L., I believe the Packers are doomed for the next couple of years, in my opinion. We'll find out for sure. Big Daz, good morning, Coach Dan and the Duke crew. Exclamation point. It wasn't a good day for the state of Michigan except for the Red Wings in sports yesterday. You see, it was a big deal beating the Bears. I thought Green Bay had it. Yes, I thought they had it too. I'm glad we got that win. I know not everybody is. I know everybody wanted the 16th pick instead of the 17th pick. I just say, man, maybe it's the coach to me. Go get those wins when you can. Johnny L., you got them, Stephanie. I concur. Dennis, good morning, Stephanie. Hope you have a great workout. Yes, indeed. Lauren, Stephanie Water, the Duke crew has your back. Maybe true. Steve Rogers, I hope so, Lauren. I like him, but he doesn't play great. He didn't play great this season. Trim Reaper says, good luck, Stephanie. Lauren, Steve Rogers, he is a little undersized, but man, does he punch the ball out like no other DB I've seen. All right, Xavier, good morning, Johnny. Exclamation point. Henry Moore, good luck, Stephanie. Trim Reaper, I think Robinson is done Detroit. Might be accurate. Henry Moore, good morning, Queen Mary. Johnny, good morning, Henry Sr. Phil, good morning. Good morning, Phil. Let's see, Henry, good morning, Johnny L. Johnny L. Spell check does not do abbreviations. All right. Big Daz, good luck, Stephanie. Kick some butt. Oh, yeah, with an exclamation point or two. Lauren, anyone around the Metro Detroit area that would like to go see the Motor City Cruise, get a hold of me. I have 4 tickets for tonight's game. They are yours if you want them. Queen Mary, Hookadoo, good morning, Trim, Henry, Xavier, Lauren, and Johnny L. Lauren, good morning, Queen, let's see, Mary Smith, good morning, Queen Mary. Tori Apple, poor Tom Grossi. Yeah, he's a Packers fan. I didn't catch his stuff, but I'm sure it's not an easy show for him to do. Dennis, good morning, Tori. Attila, with all these teams losing on field goals and extra points, the Lions need to sign Brandon Aubrey more than anything. All right, maybe they will. Johnny, hey there, Tori. Hey, Tori Apple, says Henry Moore. Yeah, Big Daz. Now let's start choosing who we may want in free agency, and hopefully we can get some of them. I offered a couple quick thoughts out there for you guys, or types of players to go get. I do think they can achieve it. One of you guys who watched this old Jim went out, looked at some houses yesterday and some condos. We were talking about it. If they don't get Linderbaum, I do think there's some nice options at center out there in free agency. Linderbaum, I think most are going to say on a scale of 1 to 10, he's a 10. I think there's some other guys that are 8, maybe an 8.5. I don't know. They're not him. They're not far off, but they're probably more palatable on the salary cap. Johnny L., we need to get McDaniels in the house. Let's see if we can. Remember, Cade Mays, center from Carolina, a possible fit in Detroit. Yes, it's one of the guys I was thinking of. Him, and I want to say the Colts have a player. I think there were about 3 other centers in free agency that I was like, those wouldn't be bad fits, and they would be upgrades, a little bit younger too. Tell Lauren I would take you up on that, but I want to chill today. And chill away, my friend. Queen Mary, I need you to stay after the show is over, please. Sir, hello, Tori, Henry, and Attila. Henry Moore, absolutely, Johnny L. It took me some kind of mad scientist. Hey, nothing wrong with mad scientist. Lauren, Attila, Detroit is notorious. Birthdays and tips off is at 6. Okay. Johnny L., good morning, Attila. Henry Moore, sup, Silver. Cynthia, good morning, everyone. Exclamation point. Bruno Mars is playing at Ford Field in May, says Johnny L. No sound. Hopefully you got sound. Trim Reaper, all hail the Lions Talk Live Queens. Lauren, let's see, Johnny L., is your audio on? I have sound. My sound is good, Bull. Hey, Henry Moore, a glorious morning, Cynthia, Princess of Lions Talk Live. Johnny L., I had to check out and check back in, but now I have the sound. Okay, yeah, I know that seems to happen for some of you guys. All right, Cynthia, Henry, good morning, Henry. Exclamation point. Put a smile on my face. Server, Dean Jackson, you are not crazy one bit at all about that. Lions have no safeties other than Harper and Thomas. Meek perhaps gone. Rakestraw, 3rd year. Mystery, Terry Arnold is out. Needs to be addressed. Johnny L., good morning, Cynthia. Easy. I can't watch Ben or Stafford win another Super Bowl, especially Ben Johnson. Okay, Cynthia. Johnny L., exclamation point, good morning. Don Bird, Detroit fans, we need another defensive end besides Hudson while Bears winning with scrubs at defensive ends. All right. Lauren, the Bears should be knocked out before the big game. It's possible, but right now, you guys get it, man. They got a puncher's chance. How about that? Amy, what do you got? Good morning, Coach Dan and our Duke crew. Exclamation point, still fighting COVID. Everyone be safe on the roads. Have a great time recovering. Hopefully, it's getting better with every day. Remember, in golf we trust. Hey, how about that? Dimitri, what do you got? Good morning, Duke crew. Easy. I agree. Bears shouldn't go that far. All right, Cynthia, can I just say that I wish Ben Johnson could keep his shirt on? Question mark. Laugh it out loud. Jameer, hey, Mike is coming over from the Dolphins. BROC. And just being fair to him, McDaniels, if he gets a head coaching job, he should take it. That's best for him and his family. If he doesn't get that, I think the Detroit Lions offense is the best assignment out there. As you guys already seen when I broke the team down, everybody can have different views on it. I just tried to be objective when evaluating them. I think you don't have another chance at an offense that's as complete as this as the Detroit Lions. So it would make sense to me. Henry Moore, Sr. Good morning, Amy. I hope you and your family are feeling better. I concur. Easy. I think McDaniels gets another head coaching job personally. Yeah, it might happen. I'm Trim Reaper, Rams versus Bills, Levi Stadium, in your opinion? Might be true. Jameer, the Bears are getting knocked out next round. I think you're right. Silver Server Coach Holmes said Kirby will have time to get his health as healthy as he can. Not completely healthy, just as much as he can. Injury, very serious. I think Kirby knew that before extension. Not mad. Just saying. Yeah, at the end of the day, the Lions training staff would have been asked to do an evaluation of him before the medical staff, I should say, before the extension. If they didn't detect it, then that's on them. They got to evaluate that. You can't blame the player for signing the contract. You showed your faith in them, and in football, injuries pop up all the time. Free for all, hoping for a Rams/Chargers Super Bowl since it's in Santa Clara means no one outside California will care. Might be right. T. Rose Ben Johnson said, skip the Packers live. How about that? Trim Reaver, why can't people leave Goff alone? Exclamation point. He is a great quarterback. Everybody's got to have a different opinion, man. That's okay. It's okay to have differing opinions. Dennis, I think Goff is top 8 and perfect for Detroit. We know his flaws and can live with them. He is deadly accurate and a great decision maker. I concur. Cynthia, good morning, Queen Mary, Hookadoo, and me, Hassanin. All right. Lauren, Broski ain't around, laughing out, surprised with the win last night. I think it still comes down to the fact that the Lions beat, the Bears, and he lost the bet. That's my guess, though. D. Rose, I see why you guys was mad he left. All right. Let's see, Jameer. Goff is my guy. Trim Reaper, laughing out, Cynthia. Big Daz, get better offensive line and another good defensive end. Fill in the defensive backs. We do that, we will be back on top. I think you're right. I think the Lions will have probably one of the top 5 rosters, maybe above that. Who knows? Wait and see what other teams do. Brian, the Bears won the division, but we swept the Bears. Kind of tells you where the Lions should rank. Thanks, refs. I agree with all the things you just said. Trust me. Let me clear my throat. Queen Mary, good morning. Sister Cynthia, same old soup. Good morning, Coach Dan, the Duke Crew, tardy but present, as always, and glad to have you on here, my friend. Silver, Cynthia, good morning, dear. I hear about your mom the other day. My condolences to you and prayers. Yeah, thoughts and prayers to you, Cynthia. Johnny L, good morning, Amy. I hope you get better soon. Xavier, when Lions have a great line, they have a great running game. Yes, they do. Funny how great offensive line helps the great running game. Cynthia, good morning, Silver. Appreciate that. Samir, the Packers messed that game up. Yes, I concur. Johnny, Cynthia, I have my condolences also. You have my condolences also. Thank you, Johnny. Good morning, Trim. Dre Day. NFL is scripted, just waiting for the NFL to say it's the Lions' turn. Hey, hopefully that's next year. T. Rose, Bears making the NFC Championship. That's it. It doesn't worry. All right, don't worry about it. David, Packers folded like a piece of paper. They have wet paper at that. Yes, I think you might be lower on your receiver group for next year, Coach. Would hate to play against our receiver core. Yeah, and I try to be as fair as I can. I also, like I pointed out with the receivers, probably ultimately gave them a little bit lower grade than they deserve, but I'm trying to not show any kind of bias when evaluating talent, etc. Easy. Green Bay lost 5 straight. Bears losing next round. Yeah, Green Bay Packers just a dumpster fire to end the year. I mean, we can all say, man, if the Lions would have just won one more game. That being said, it is what it is. The Bears, got the win. The Lions, could they have gone back in and won? I think they could have, but unfortunately, that's not what we got. Silver, guess what? Question mark. Bears are in the same position Detroit was 2 years ago. This might be their best chance to win, surprising people as underdogs, as their quarterback is showing something. He hustles. Hey, got to have hustle. Kim, you see how important it is to play all 4 quarters. Surprised that Ben Johnson figured out how to get energized after that half. First half, man, yeah, I think anybody watching was like, man, the Bears are doomed. Andrea, if the Bears played a real threat, they would have lost last night. I agree, 1,000%. Green Bay Packers lost, a month and a half straight. If you're a Packers fan, how do you feel about the offseason right now? I can only say this as a Lions fan. I know prior to the Chicago game, we're all, not feeling great. But I actually think when analyzing the facts, seeing how we played against the Bears, just a lot of different things, I feel pretty upbeat about the Lions season. But take with a grain of salt, I'm positive by nature. So maybe don't take everything I have to say as the Bible. But I think looking at just the data we provided today for you guys, there's a whole lot to like about the Detroit Lions going forward. All right, Trim River. Always here for you, Cynthia. Good morning, my dear. T. Rose, we ready? I agree. Pierce, I don't think the Bears beat Philly. Brian, hopefully Ben Johnson will have the same results as we did. Easy. Caleb throws the ball. More Bears started to come back in games. They better lose. Let's hope so. Trim River. DDI helped Philly put down the Bears. Cynthia, thank you. Trim. Pierce. Trim knows what's up. Shamir, you Bears fans love sitting at our table. Why are you here? That's a good question, man. Apparently, they don't have their own channels. Amy, thank you, Henry. Johnny, for asking about my illness. Yeah, hopefully you're feeling better. D-Rose, did Gibbs realize he needs some help running yet? He's so selfish. Yeah, it's just funny. The Bears, even on the Lions down here, can't beat the Lions. I don't get that, T. Rose. Can you explain that? David Hutchinson, top 10, doesn't have the mass of Garrett. That's the biggest difference. Yeah, to your point, if you look at the physical structure of Myles Garrett, he's just genetically rare. Like I mentioned earlier, when I go in and scout players, the biggest thing, skills you can teach people is, do you have the genetic component? To be like an NBA player, you have to be higher than 0.5% of the human population in something to make it there. And then the skill standpoint, NFL is not vastly different. Now, when you look at Hutchinson, I think he gets max return on what he has physically. And you could go through a litany of different lines that fit that mold. That's why I also think Lee McNeil is going to return to form next year. He's genetically structured in a way most human beings can't imagine. And he's got the right personality internally. I think McNeil is going to be just fine next year. Bears question, Mark, for the linebackers. Is Thor, does he come back? I think it's the ball's in the Lions' court. I think he'll come back. It's just whether or not the Lions want him. And, obviously they can agree on a price. So right on, Coach. Tyreek and Aleem with Lopez and some other acquisitions, perhaps with another big edge, they would be something. I still wonder, why did they run all over Detroit? Why? In my opinion only, the last month of the season, whatever it was, where we really started giving up running lanes, it's because you see where they changed the structure of the front seven, especially the front four. They were trying to stop the run less and get after the quarterback more, putting more onus on the linebackers and then the safeties. The problem on a lot of those big runs, was it like Pittsburgh's big runs, the safeties got caught out of position. If you're going to put more on them, they have to connect. And at least that's my opinion watching it, watching the replays and breaking down the X and O's. Remember, get better, Amy. Vitamin C, local honey should help. I agree. And Jameer, we still undefeated when it comes to the Bears. How about that? Bears fans don't want to seem to talk about that. All right, we've got about 8 minutes left. Let me try to power through, find people who haven't been on as much. Pierce, please, no more big edge. It doesn't work. As far as like Lee McNeil there, I would agree. Let's see, Marshall, what do you got? Is there any update on Kirby Joseph? Question mark. He was up and down to the end of the season. Is he good to go next season? That I don't know. We'll probably get more information by, we'll say April, June, July, something like that. But he's got some time to work with people and heal up. Cynthia, good morning. Amy, I hope you're feeling better than today is a good day. Let's hope it is. Let's see, Pierce. Amy, hope you feel better. All right. Brian, Ben Johnson had a lot of opportunities with the AFC and the NFC. Other than the Bears, he's a punk for choosing the Bears after everything we've done from him. Here's what it is. I agree with you. Coach TA needs to stay. I think he's going to stay. I mean, everybody's going to have different opinions on him. My opinion, I thought, and I know I went on air a lot with it, I thought he was playing really well. Number one corner, I don't know. But if he's a number two corner and he got him in the end of the first round, I'll take that in this scheme because he can defend the run. He's one of our few bigger body cornerbacks. He's physical, and I think he plays pretty well. I know people say, well, he gets flags. If you're going to play in the system, you're going to get flagged in today's NFL. Brian Branch, you want to kick him out because he got some, pass interferences or holding calls? I actually think he led the team in those. And, is what it is. Don't ask people to play defense if you don't want them to foul. How about that? Let's see. Lauren Brayshaw is another Broderick Martin. That might be accurate. I hope I'm wrong on Rakestraw. I hope he revitalizes his career. But the fact that he's basically missed his first 2 years in the NFL, he's a rookie coming into his third year. I'm not overly optimistic on him. Easy, 100% Brian. David, sweeping the Bears this season was a bright spot for sure. I agree with that. And Bears fans don't want to talk about it. Silver Surf, morning, Pierce, Lauren. Let's see, Pierce, they shouldn't have to hold for 5 to 6 seconds. That's ridiculous. I agree. But the fact that your secondary consistently did it, that's why I gave him a lot of praise. That's not easy to do in any level of football, let alone at the NFL level. All right, let's see. TA does a great job. He is often assigned the best receiver. We can improve pass rush. It would help a lot. Yeah, if you can get the pass rush down to under 3 seconds, then how much better would the entire secondary look? TA all the way. Let's see. DDI for head trainer. David, BB and Brian Branch being injured didn't help our run defense. No, I agree. I agree with big time. All right, looking for others. Haven't been on as much. Easy. Hope to God Kirby gets healthy and stays healthy. I think that'd be wise for all of us to hope that. Benjamin, are you assuming everyone is healthy? Yeah. Plus the checkbook will be open for free agents. 2 very bad assumptions. we'll find out. I mean, who knows what's going to happen with the health? I'm not going to say anybody's out for their career until we have evidence supporting that. With the checkbook, I just think it's inevitable. Because we were talking about it. Well, Jim and I, one of the Duke crew, I was showing condos to yesterday. You probably survive as a GM and a head coach one down year. Can you survive 2 straight? And yes, even though it's a winning year, it's a down year by the standards of the franchise now. I think if you don't make the playoffs next year and make a push, there are going to be some real questions asked from ownership. All right, Trey Weaver, thank you. Thank you. All right, nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with having some thanks. Pierce Pierce and Lauren, if Brad Holmes keeps Davenport, it will be Davenport flies. All right, down with that. All right, easy. Center guard and free agent, tackle in first round, and draft is what I'd like. We'll see what shakes out. Any more good luck with that, Trim. Check out the chiropractor. I concur with that. All the people that have been on here, David, agreed, Coach. It's time to make some big moves in free agency. The time is now. I think you are fully right with that. All right, Brian, strengthen offensive line first. At least we should outscore everyone like that last couple of years, even if our defense is lacking. I think there's some good with the defense. You just need a little bit more of it. Vincent, I have no faith in Brad Holmes. Let's hopefully he can turn that around. Queen Mary, okay, I'll sorry you can't see. That's why I always have backups. I'm terrible with my glasses. Hey, it happens. I have a kid who breaks them all the time. See, Irish, watching the games yesterday, you can see how important the center and guards are. Yes, you have to block inside out, my opinion. But that's my opinion. Thomas, at any time this past year on D, did you feel our pass rush totally affected the game? Maybe one, maybe other than that, dud. All right. Term Reaper, branch, that like and subscribe buttons. Thank you for saying that. Pat, grit morning and grit to you. JK, told y'all Bears were fake. How about they got the win, though, but maybe the Packers are more fake. I don't know where to go with that. Everything is fake, by the way. Okay, we're all living in a simulation. Maybe we're living in the Matrix. Thomas, Green Bay last night gave up at half. Their D played soft the entire second half. That's why they lost. No blitzing, soft zone. The O lost its aggressiveness. I agree with everything you just said there. You get no fight from me. Trim Reaper, Pierce, I like the way you're thinking. Hey, how about that? David, we need to find an OC that is able to use both Sonic and Knuckles on a regular basis. I think that's a lot of guys out there who could. Let's make sure we get one of them. Yeah, I think they got to be very selective of who they take. And again, I know I talked about Shep. I like what I saw when reviewing things, getting ready for the show for Shepard. I thought a lot of stuff played out well. Injuries impacted some stuff. You could see where he learned stuff over the year. That also being said, if you can upgrade the spot, I would. And it's no disrespect to anybody. Everybody's job's on the line. You're in it for this team, not to be a friend. And that's the downside of coaching. Cynthia, thanks, Coach Dan. If we can get our strength right as well, we will rock it. Exclamation point. Coach Dan, the auctioneer. Hey, I think that would be actually kind of fun, man. Bo, Green Bay did the usual suspects. Yes, they did have the usual way about them. Silver Coach, I heard Will Ford on Detroit Den 313 suggests Trey Hendrickson to Detroit for a 2-year deal, $25 million per season after the injury-plagued season. He might be affordable, old as he is. Thoughts? Right deal, sure. Get him. Is he going to hurt us for the next 2 years? Probably not. He's probably going to help. Do I think that's where they go? I don't. Been wrong before, though. But I think we all agree you need to do something to that opposite edge. My opinion is the free agency money goes in the offensive line and the draft goes on the defense. And you might see that later today if there happens to be a mock draft coming from me. Easy. Let's see. FR Green Bay K was the difference in that game period. Okay. EF them picks. All right. Skip them picks indeed. Thomas, the best D for our D backfield is a devastating pass rush. I would agree with that. Knock Brad Holmes. Let's see he can do it. David, thumbs up, Bo. JK, Pistachio, Flapio, Starbucks time. Go enjoy your coffee. Let's see, easy. Micah going to be out more than half the year next year. I mean, who knows when he comes back, but to be fair to any human being, you go through that. I was talking about it with a Alliance Talk Live guy or fan yesterday. You know, it's not like back in the 80s where ACL like Billy Sims, it ends your career. They've done a whole lot to help recover that process. Is he going to be 100% when he returns? No. But I think if they keep Micah Parsons on a pitch count, maybe 10, 12, 15 snaps a game, he'll be effective. He'll be highly effective. He just won't be Micah Parsons probably until the following year. You know, hopefully you get where I'm going with that. All right, Thomas, Look, Trey or Max Garrett in the Lions team will have our D-line into a beast. The defense backfield will look much better. I would agree with that. Ogadoo, seems as though JB Wade is good fix for glasses. Hey, there you go. Easy. All the NFC North teams are messed over next year. We're going to shore that up, shore up the offensive line. I agree with that. I agree with that 100%. Queen Mary, Coach Dan, I thought they had required a center. We're going to need a center, in my humble opinion. I know it's been mentioned, Ratledge moving over. I wouldn't do that. I thought he played real well down the stretch at guard. Somebody else can have a different opinion, and maybe they decide to move him over. Benjamin Johnson win. Campbell sits home. What's wrong with that picture? Hey, it happens, man. Law of averages. You're not going to get some breaks to go your way. JK, no mass project, Manu or Ratledge. Thank you. No more projects. I actually thought Ratledge did well, but everybody can have their opinion. Manu's the big question mark. I think he's clearly improved. Is he improved enough to be a starting offensive lineman? We'll see next training camp. All right, Thomas, what do you got? Center who would be available and is extremely mobile and strong, who can anchor when needed. Center from Alabama, Parker Brailsford. All right, we'll see if they go there. Pierce wouldn't call Ratledge a project. No, I thought he played well. He played more snaps and reps than any offensive lineman in the NFL this year for a rookie. And I thought you saw a clear trend with him throughout the year. I thought he got better and better and better. I bonked the like y'all. Thank you for that, JK. Same with Manu. He's ready for prime time. We'll find out in next offseason. Bo, Rams-Panthers game was pretty good. Bryce Young isn't Matthew Stafford yet. No, and hey, give the Panthers some credit. They did not have a great year, had a pretty good year, and kind of ascended. Gave the Rams everything they could handle. JK laughing out loud. Pierce, let's see. Thomas, I'm 6'3". Congrats. Gun guy, 50% completion percentage. Goff made Ben Johnson. That might be true. Might be true. Try to remember, that's a good idea. Thomas, Phil, no need to yell, Thomas. All right. Bo, Garrett is the closest guy to Reggie White since Reggie White. That could be some evidence there. Let's see. Hookadoo, Phil, he always types in uppercase. It's irritating. Henry Moore, a glorious day to y'all. I'll chat with you tomorrow. We'll see you then, Henry. Have a great day. Try to remember, I was laughing at that Phil said about Young and Caps. Bo, happy trails, Dude Crew. Structural changes coming on D. See you tomorrow. We'll see you then. Have a great day, Coach and Dude Crew. Woo! Exclamation points. Robert, please do not let Montgomery go to the Bears. Let's hope not. Vinny, what do you got? This team is exhausting. It happens, man. Dennis, happy trails, Dude Crew. Good show today, Coach. Hey, glad I got something right today. Derek, we need an OC that is able to not only call plays, but design some creative plays as well. All right, Silver. Vincent, you got that right. Exclamation right. I knew somebody with your last name. I didn't know that. All right. Well, hey, something I do know is if you haven't yet subscribed to Lions Talk Live, please consider doing so. Hit the like and subscribe button. If there is breaking news later today, I'll get it to you as soon as possible. Otherwise, take care. Enjoy your day. Do something kind for somebody you don't know. Be a good human being. And we'll see you guys all in the next Lions Talk Live. Take care, everyone. Which one are we going to end it with today? How about this? You're still here? What are you doing here? It's over. The show's over. Go home.